Hello Minecrafters, Kevin here, showing you how to build a counter. And notice that this is a counter with something that isn't a 7-segment display. This is full pixel display. The numbers are fancy and rounded. And hopefully by the end of this tutorial, you'll know how to build it. I have some special effects that give rays and such. I hope those aren't distracting for you. But here's basically you have a slide-based circuitry, which makes it very simple. There's a switcher at the top there that's minecart based that switches each of the slides, and then you have pistons at the bottom that push the slides up to reset them. And I tried to explain that the giant display I made before worked with simple properties, and hopefully this tutorial will show you. So if you look there, every time I press the button, a new slide was pushed down. And that slide has the information for what is shown on the screen. So I hope the fast forwarding doesn't make you dizzy, but this will save you and me a lot of time. Gets rid of all the filler. Basically, you see that pattern there? We're going to copy that. We're going to make a zigzag pattern, and that's then going to have rows that go back 6 blocks so that we can put the torches there. The torches will power the piston in front of it and the piston right below that one. So each individual torch will power 2 pistons. In that sense, the pixels here that are used in the display are too tall. So it's not square pixels, it's vertically rectangular pixels. But I'm supposed to make these 6 long. I end up making them 7 long because I'm a moron. But I think it's good for me to make mistakes in the video and for me to show those mistakes, because if I make mistakes in the video, especially with the circuitry, then that's something that you guys can make. So I want to show you the common mistakes I made, even after I have experience making this, so that hopefully you'll be able to avoid making those mistakes yourself. Anyway, you just want to plaster the front then with a whole face of pistons. These are going to be the display. And you want the pistons to have a border of 1 piston around the edge so that the display looks nice. So you see that the ones on the outside, they aren't powered by any torches, so they don't extend. But they're just there as a visual enhancement so that the display has a nice border around it, making it very clear. You can see here, the torches are firing 2 below. So actually you need to make the border a bit lower than you might think you'd need to make it. The next step to make a 2-tone display is to put glass, a whole layer of glass in front of the piston. So when the piston presses in front, it's going to darken, allowing for the 2 tones. Alright, now we need to have the torches fed into by repeaters and redstone wire that alternate. So we'll show you there. Here I have them alternating, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is when I go, oh wait, this isn't like the other screen. And that's when I realized, oh, I made things 1 block too long. So here I'm going to just delete everything. A simple enough process. So I just move everything over 1. Anyway, here we go. You want to put the redstone down first so that when you put the repeaters down, alternating with the redstone wire, you don't accidentally make them 2 tick. That's not going to destroy the display by any means, but it will make things non-uniform when it shows. Some of the blocks would load slower than others. So finally, that's done. The screen's done. It was that easy. We're going to plaster the bottom here with 10 rows of pistons that fire up and blocks next to them that will have redstone on them. So there's the redstone. Put your redstone on each of the blocks, and those are going to push the slides up to reset everything. Each time it resets the screen, you'll see nothing on the screen. So now we need to kind of copy this overall design over here. But I'm going to do it a little differently, and that's partly why I'm going to make mistakes here. But again, that's fine, because if you're going to be using a display like this, you might not be using the same number of slides. Maybe you'll be saying words, and you could be saying 12 different words or 5 different words. So hopefully by explaining things, you'll know exactly why each part does it. This torch is going to be the lighter. When it's lit up, they push up the slides, and generally when I wire up the screen, I wire it up using instant wire, which I'll be building later in this tutorial. And the instant wire, the way its signal works, it ends up having a powered signal that turns off for a moment, but everything is instantly turned off for a moment. That's why we need that torch there to invert that signal, so that's just a quick on pulse. Anyway, next we're going to make the switcher part of things. We're going to have rows, 5 long, like this, and then we're going to put pistons below them that are facing down, and each of those rows then is responsible for pushing down the slide to load it onto the screen. Just make sure that they face down. Just very simple. Really, this display is the same idea copied over and over and over, the same general process. Now we power above those with redstone. Now we're going to make this minecart-based switcher. I've shown you a redstone-based switcher used for my ultimate display, the big one. But the minecart one works perfectly fine with smaller displays, especially if you're using instant wire. I'm going to time it with the instant wire, and that's what I find is most reliable. So we're going to make a 3-wide platform that's going to be on, and that's going to extend one beyond the rows with the pistons on. So 3 wide, and then as long as it needs to be here. And then I make mistakes here. You want it to be spaced every 4. You're going to put a block there, and then it'll be perfectly spaced out. And you'll see why, because that's making the humps. Now we're going to alternate powered rails diagonally, 1, 2, 1, 2. And similarly with the detector rails, we're going to do the opposite sides. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And you just keep that going. Then we're going to fill in everything else with regular rails. So let's do that. I fail. Also, you want the end. It needs to be powered. That powered part on the top powers all those powered rails, and that allows the cart to move. But it'll then depower just in time for the cart to stop on the next diagonal rail, or the next downward inclined rail. Finally, you want to make sure with the minecart switcher not to have anything around the ends that the cart brushes against, because that'll slow it down and mess up the timing. Now we're going to just wire down redstone so that we can get the signal from the bottom to the top. And I'm just using kind of a stared redstone design here, but I'm going to end up redoing that later because it wasn't quite working. It's just steps. You can do it however you want as long as it gets the signal up there. Some people would do torches that are above each other to vertically send the signal, but it's your choice. I just do steps here. That's simple. And you need repeaters then to send the signal up, because that signal will only go 10 redstone wire blocks before it dies off, unless it's been fed by a repeater to another 15 blocks. You can see it burning right there, and then it stops burning, so we need a repeater again. But everything's burning, so it's fine. Alright, the next step, we need slides. We just basically did all the circuitry. Actually, I'm going to test things quick by putting the minecart here. It's good to test each component as you build it. And here I tested and I find, oh, I missed a part. That wasn't the detector rail. I just accidentally broke that because breaking minecarts without a pickaxe or some other tool is difficult. I was just missing a regular rail. Alright, now for the patterns here for each slide, I have a PNG file, an image that shows the fonts, I guess you could say, the pixel fonts used for the numbers. But basically, whenever you make a slide, you want to start with 2 rows of solid block. In this case, use cobblestone because that's very commonly available. But based on the images that I show you for the fonts, there should be an image that is kind of split into strips, just like our slides will be. And that should show you how to make it. Now you have 5 pixels high. Each of those pixels are too high. Remember, they're stretched out vertically. But you have 5 pixels to work with. So that's each of these rows. And this right here is your 0. So then you're going to fill in the rest with solid blocks. All right, now you've made a 0 slide. You're going to then fill in with the wood blocks in front of every glass block except for the top row. You don't need wood blocks at the top row. Now look at the repeaters there. If the repeater's there, that means there needs to be a redstone wire behind it, because we're going to alternate, and then you alternate the repeaters. So you're not only alternating the repeaters horizontally there, you're also alternating from slide to slide, where the repeaters feed into a block that feeds into a redstone, that feeds into a block that feeds into a redstone. That allows the signal to propagate. Anyway, see those signs there? In those signs, I show you the order that the numbers are in. Because we're using the minecart-based switcher, which is simpler, it ends up meaning that the slides will not be in order. It won't be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. It's going to be skipping a few slides each time it does things. So in this case, we need 0, 9, 1, 8, 2, 7. Because if you look at that minecart, it's got a loop track, and each time it goes, it skips 3 blocks rather than just skipping 2. Or wait, my math is wrong. Anyway, for making the slides, I'm going to fast forward super fast, and that's why I've got things desaturated, because I think it's dizzying and distracting, but this will save a lot of time. We're basically just doing the same thing. Repeaters. Here's the 1. And even when I do these slides, I make mistakes with the glass. There's your 8. Fortunately, it's easy to fix mistakes. And I'll have in the description the order you should make the numbers. 2. All right. We're halfway done. It's starting to look fancy. There's our 7 being made. Again, you can use any solid block, and then you use any transparent block instead of glass. That includes stairs, for example. You could use steps. Solid blocks, I've used wool before, but you could use netherrack. It doesn't really matter, as long as redstone can power it. I think it's always good to start with 2 rows of solid block at the bottom, so you don't accidentally make your slide too low. And I keep doing that before, but I think by now I've learned my lesson. But you're going to have your your top row is going to be touching the pistons at the top. Then the other ones are just 2 below that, 2 below that, 2 below that. You can build them right against the wood here. Anyway, there's your 5. We've got all the slides done. Fantastic. And we're going to get to see how they look too. So that way we can see what mistakes I've made with each slide. And I do make mistakes. I make plenty of mistakes. People call me a redstone genius sometimes, but even a genius is suspect to error. Sometimes I'll admit those errors allow me to make very cool discoveries. So there is actually some good that can come from experimentation or wildly stupid mistakes. I guess that's a part of science. Anyway, you want to put a row of redstone behind here. This is going to be a constant power source that feeds into those blocks, which can then propagate. We've basically just done the alternation just like before, except we're going to have behind there, I put wire. You could have a row of torches if you wanted to. It just needs to be a constant power source.